Texter writes in, I listen to the show so much that I already know what Robbie's going to say. Defending the 3. Don't ruin the game, sir. Let's get to it one by one here. All right, so I want to do a little worry leveling here, Leroy. You give me your level of concern. Do it on whatever meter you choose. You could do 1 as low. You could do 10 as high. It could be anywhere there in between. And you let me know how worried you are about certain things I'll throw at you for this, all right?
Okay.
I'll give you my score. Robbie, of course, you weigh in as well, all right?
All right.
Number 1 on the list, all right? And this doesn't mean it's the most concerning to me. These are just things that I rattled off. And if you have any suggestions that I missed, feel free to text those in, too. It's 786-360-0790. All right,
okay.
Numero uno on the list. Tyler Herro's stroke.
1.
No worry for you at all.
No.
7.
Oh, wow. 7, Robbie?
It's how
Robbie, you can't have. It's basketball. You can't have a slump.
you can have a slump, but when there's a connection to the slump, there's a problem.
I am with him. There's a little bit of there's a cheeks factor here that's going on.
Really? That's
doesn't
because,
go away.
Look, here. Let me explain to you why that is. Everybody wants the explanation. You want to be able to tie something to why. Okay? If he wasn't with the IG model and he had the same thing, then what you would say?
I would say
rusty.
it's a 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so not like you're jumping to you're jumping to a solution.
I'd also have less concern. In a weird way, I'd have less concern if they weren't in the bubble. If he could still have access to the cheeks that he's in love with, then I'd be like, all right, he's not distracted. But now I'm worried that he misses being home because it was the greatest quarantine of all time for him. So I would put my worry at about a 6 right now. A 6. Not overly concerned, but a little bit over average.
Oh my goodness, man.
He might want the season to end so that he can go back.
I'm gonna keep saying these to you two knuckleheads.
I'm gonna put my worry.
Pray. I'm thankful that I didn't have you guys as Cleveland, Tobin, and Robbie.
Why?
Because I wouldn't have a chance.
I'm gonna put my worry at an Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones right there. All right. Second thing on the list. Myers Leonard. Just all of it. What is your level of concern of Myers Leonard? Working his way back from injury, getting back to what he was as far as the team, the chemistry, all that type of stuff. They had a fantastic record with him as the starting center. Nice little mix with dunks, with Bam. But I feel like he's looked rusty in these scrimmages, and Kelly Olynyk's balling out. I mean, he's looked absolutely fantastic. So what is our level of concern for our boy Hammer?
I would say 4, 5 right there in the middle, simply because he spent a lot of time away, and they've basically learned how to play without him. And they're going to have to make a lot of adjustments to include him, even though the team was doing well when he was playing. So that's a fine line. Do you stick with what was working, or do you go back to what was it? It's the old Tom Brady, Drew, what's his name?
Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe thing, right? At the time, everybody thought Drew Bledsoe was a better quarterback, but Tom Brady was winning. Do you go with winning, or do you go back to who's the best guy at the position? And I think that's where they are with him.
I think with Myers, I'm just a little concerned. I'm more concerned with his rust and just because it was a bad injury. It's not like Tyler.
Right.
So I'm worried about how healthy he is first and foremost, because I don't know if he's all the way back. He didn't get to rehab like he's admitted it. I didn't get to rehab like I normally did. And we saw with Kelly Olynyk, like look how long it took Kelly to get right. I know it's an ankle compared to a knee, but it was a high ankle sprain. He's a big fella. And yeah, he doesn't look fantastic in these early goings. Where do you have it at, Robbie? Because I got my numbers set.
I think it's between a 3 and a 4. I'll probably lead towards more a 3 because remember in the Western Conference Finals last year with Portland, like I've seen the thing with Jason Jackson a bunch of times that he wasn't really a rotational player, and then all of a sudden Western Conference Finals he starts balling out, and so I'm not too worried about Myers Leonard. Shake the rust off. If they make the deeper into the playoffs, I think he'll be a big contributor.
I think right now I actually have it at a Lamar Odom. Like I have it as one of my higher concerns. Yeah, I have it at like a 7.
Why?
Because I'm just worried about the health. I'm worried about the health right now. I think that's what I have the most worry about with the as far as guys who just physically don't look themselves. I don't feel like he looks quite himself right now. So that it's not a question of ability. It's his health right now. All right. Right now, next topic up, the rotation, Leroy. You got all these guys together. Spo's got the Memphis trade guys together, and Kelly Olynyk's balling out, and the starters are back with Myers Leonard and Tyler Herro. Spo having a rotation figured out by the time the playoffs start. Where do you have that at?
That's always a big issue for me, 8, because you got to go from 11 guys to maybe 8 or 9 guys. You don't know which guy, and when you do that with shooters, you could possibly go to a guy who's not hot, right? So it's always a concern, not because Spo doesn't know what he's doing, because I don't know what Spo's thinking. You see what I mean? He might already have a plan.
Somebody says Myers Leonard's a Gary Payton for me. Come on, man. Robbie, what do you have it at?
I actually disagree with Leroy on this one. I have the concern about a 2 because he has 8 regular season games to get the rotation all figured out. They're going to be in the playoffs, and I think he'll have it all worked out by the time playoffs start around. I think it's about a 2.
The question was not what it's going to be. It's right now.
Yeah, but that's why my concern right now is a 2 because I know when it matters, I think he'll have it figured out.
I'm middle of the road here. Like I have it at a Quentin Richardson, like a 5. You know, I don't feel overly concerned because I do feel like a lot of the times this stuff's gonna work itself out. I also do like the fact the Heat are going into this. There's not much change that can go on in these seeding games for them. They're probably going to end up, where they're at. It's going to be probably just a decision of whether they're going to be playing the Sixers or the Pacers. So I'm not overly concerned, and especially early on in these games, I still think they have time to work things out. So, yeah, it's middle of the road for me. All right, number 4 on the list. Jimmy Butler's jump shot.
0.
Ooh.
Whoa. Really?
I mean, he hasn't had a jump shot all year, and he's been very effective during games. So why would you start worrying about his jump shot now? He's played most of the season without it.
That's an interesting theory. Okay, so why worry what you never had?
Right. Like if at this point, if his jump shot turns around, or if he gets back, it's a bonus. He's still going to be effective on the basketball court. He's still going to get his shots. They're just coming in different ways. He's getting to the foul line more, and he's still an effective basketball player. So if he can't shoot, hey, why does everybody worry about Ben Simmons shooting the ball?
Oh, because he's petrified to shoot the ball.
Okay, but guess what? Still a max guy.
Yep. Robbie, what do you have it at?
I have it as a 5. I'll agree with Leroy that you're not. I mean, Jimmy Butler, he hasn't had the good jump shot all year, but there are going to be times where he's going to be taking the jump shot. But I'm not overly concerned. I put it right in the middle. I'd say a 5.
I put it at I put it right now at a KZ Okpala. I put it at like a little bit under where you have it, Robbie. I think Leroy makes some solid points about it being a bonus at this point. We don't know life with a Jimmy Butler jumper. He did make a 3 yesterday, so that was cool. I was like, whoa, didn't see that one coming. I was stunned. All right,
why you got that open shot.
All right, number 5 on this, Kendrick Nunn. Rookie point guard, going into the playoffs, smaller. Worried of any possibility they could be exposed to shooting. I felt like Kendrick Nunn was a bit of a feaster on terrible teams this year too. So Kendrick Nunn going into the postseason, Leroy, the rookie sensation, Baby Goat Part 2. Where do you have him?
8.
Whoa!
Too many variables. Season's been very long. He
had the Rona.
And you don't know how he's going to react to these intense games. Although I will say this, what helps the young guys a lot is the fact that there's no road to home games.
Robbie?
I wasn't as strong as Leroy, but I still think a 6. A solid, he had the shooting problems before the stoppage in play. Then you have the Rona. He went 2 for 10 yesterday. I am a little concerned about that 6. Still pretty high.
Yeah, I'm kind of in line with you. I'm kind of like I put it at OG Chalmers too. Like it's one of those things where I'm worried that people are gonna try and pick on him. I'm worried about how much are they gonna actually go to the well. Like I think that Spo, he likes to keep his starting lineup and keep most guys in their starting role. But will there ever be a time where the Heat decide that they're gonna go with Goran Dragic to start games instead? I don't know. I mean, Spo likes to keep those roles pretty intact. But I don't think it's out of the question. It's the playoffs, and things do get dicey for sure. I will say though about Kendrick Nunn, every time that we felt like it's going to be completely falling off the wagon for him, somehow it seems like he comes through with a game where you're just like, all right, look at him. The guy does have an ability to keep cool like that. Like when things look like they're going really rough.
But our takes aren't that he can't. Like my take is not that he can't do it. My take is it's a concern because I've never seen him do it in those
in the playoffs. Yeah,
right. That's it.
Next one, we got a couple left. Bam Adebayo being in a starring role in the playoffs.
What is he or won't he?
Is he gonna? Do you think like his season's gonna change now that he's in this starring role? Like he's gonna have be a focus, I'm sure, of a lot of teams. He's gonna have a lot of pressure defensively on him.
No,
just the idea that he's had this all-star season and he's going to be on the big stage.
He don't see you're taking all-star and making it more than what it is. He doesn't play a game where you have to, play a special defense for him. You see what I mean? He's not a scorer. So from that standpoint, I'm not concerned at all, simply because he's not a guy that you're relying on, okay, he need to get his shots up. He need to do this. He need to do that. He's another one of those guys that affects the game in so many different ways. You can't stop it all. Mm-hmm. So, no, not at all. 0.
Robbie?
I mean, I'm not as far as 0, but I'd say 1. I give it a 1. I mean, he's had playoff experience before, but yeah, he wasn't a full-time starter back then. But I feel like that's something that would really phase Bam a whole lot, and especially he's trying to get his money. So
yeah, I put this at a Josh Richardson as well. Like This is one of those things where I feel like he makes them uncomfortable. You don't make him uncomfortable. He makes you uncomfortable. Gonna put the Giannis clamps on your ass. So I'm not worried about that at all. Number 7, 3-point defense. Should we just let Robbie go here?
Yeah, go ahead, Robbie.
Go ahead, Robbie.
You can't go more than a 10, right? That's the rule?
That's the rule.
Hard 10.
Hard Tim Hardaway?
Hard Tim Hardaway. 19 of 42 yesterday. Now, you could say it's just preseason, but this was a massive problem before the shutdowns going on. They let them shoot the threes all they want to. They're stuck in old school ways, and it burned them. Last time they were in the playoffs against the Sixers, they got burned from the three-point shot. Big concern.
I'm kind of with them. I mean, maybe I'll put it at a Rashard Lewis, but I'm, a Dan Marley. But yeah, it hasn't been fantastic. I mean, I think, and it's all one of these things where I don't feel great about this Heat team defensively, really at all, other than 2 players. And I know they've made some improvements with Jay Crowder and with Andre Iguodala, but mostly of my star players, I feel comfortable with 2 of them. And then you like having the mix of the shooters with these guys because they're not good shooters, and those shooters are not good defenders. So. It almost feels, and I know this comes down to a lot of it though, with the NBA these days. But it feels like the Heat have to go into games out shooting teams by a lot because them feeling like you could go into a game and shut teams down, that ain't happening, playa. I feel like it's gonna go to these cases where if the Heat have a game where they're on fire from downtown, they obviously have a shot to be in the game. But if their shots are struggling, I think we've seen their morale get down a little bit in games. And I think that could lead to bad things in the playoffs. So, yeah, no bueno. If you have any more, 786-360-0790.
What about Leroy?
That was Leroy. What is your 3-point?
I just left up with Robbie. I just think that one of the reasons why I don't worry about it is that who are they going to play that's going to get so hot that they're going to beat them in a series?
Well, I mean, look, if they ended up in a series with Milwaukee can light it up for downtown for sure.
No, they just take a lot of shots.
That's the Heat's problem.
That's the Heat's problem, though. Yeah, and they got Middleton, they got Splash Mountain. I mean, like, I do think there's concern there. Like, now, if you're talking about the Sixers this year, they're Brick City. So I'm not as worried for them. It's not like back in the day where they had Bellinelli and JJ Redick and Saric and all that. It's definitely not. That's definitely not what they're bringing to the table this year. And then with the Pacers, I mean, they're dropping like flies, and who knows? I mean, I don't think Victor Oladipo wants to play against his future team. He's going to do the Heat a solid. So, but it is a concern. It definitely, like, their defensive holes, I think are a big concern for them.
Hey, what about we did everything about the Heat. What team?
What team? What?
Texas says Boston worries me. Are you most afraid of Boston or maybe Milwaukee?
I'm more afraid of Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been the best team. Like I know the Heat haven't had success against Boston. But
wouldn't that bother you more?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
All right.
Doesn't want to give props to Brad Stevens.
First of all, Brad Stevens wildly overrated. I know in a series, Eric Spoelstra would coach the pants off of Brad Stevens.
Here's the deal, though, right? You had your hot take on Ricky Nolasco.
Yep.
Only to find out it wasn't the worst.
Well, he was still bad. I mean,
he was still bad.
Okay, 5 home runs and.
Yeah, Ryan Howard he has the fourth. Well, Ryan Howard's homered off him the fourth most times of all pitchers.
You're not going to get me to say that I'm more worried about Boston than the team that has the back-to-back MVP. Even if I feel like the Heat have good matchups at him, they've been far and away the best team. You're not going to get me to say because the Heat lost a couple times to Boston in the regular season. Was it 2 or 3 times, Robert, that they lost to him?
They lost twice, and those were the only 2 times they played.
So I'm not going to get to the point where I'm ruling out and plus we always have to face. You know what's garbage? He'd always got to face Boston on a second night of a back-to-back. So not true losses. They don't have a real TL against them this season.
Oh my God! I thought we avoided this for 24 hours.
What? And the same thing happens in the playoff games too. By the way, they play them in the restart and the seeding games. Second again, got to take them on second night of a back-to-back. It's never fair. So no, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about Toronto. Not worried about Toronto. Toronto can kick rocks. All right. Nick Nurse, even though Nick Nurse tried to sabotage the Heat as it was with Kelly Olynyk and coaching him into the ground, nah, I don't worry about them. And as Jimmy Butler says, have they beat the Miami Heat? No, they haven't. So why would I worry about them?
All right.
Here's how it rolls. If we beat you, we own you. If we haven't beat you, I ain't worried about it. Not the playoffs yet.
Wait a minute. So you found a niche to be right in the middle and could go either way.
That's right. I will say, I mean, the Heat have beaten Milwaukee. The Heat have beaten Milwaukee every which way. They beat him with no Jimmy Butler, and they beat him with Jimmy Butler.
Let's get what this little snake just did. He said, if we beat you, I'm not worried because we can beat you.
Yeah.
If you beat us and we haven't beat you, I'm not worried because it's not the playoffs yet.
Correct.
You're usually more discreet in this.
Well, it's just how I feel.
Oh my goodness.
Like, why would you worry about the Heat versus the Sixers? They've been their daddies.
I mean, you've also beat up on Milwaukee pretty good too, right?
Yep. But they're the best.
But you haven't beat Boston.
I haven't beat Boston, but I'm not worried about it.
You're more worried
because Boston has gotten us on fugazi terms. Like they've gotten to take on the Heat in garbage situations.
You're more worried about a team you have their number, and there's a good matchup, versus a team you can't seem to beat.
But you've only gotten to take them on second out of a back-to-back. So I don't know. Let's put it on equal footing. When it's a 7-game series and Brad Stevens has to match wits with Eric Spoelstra, we'll see who's wildly overrated. We know it's Brad Stevens.
You know who will win?
Who?
The team with the best players that plays the best. That's who will win. Coaches don't matter.
They matter.
They can do some things, right? But in the end, the bucket has to go in or not. That's it.
I'm not worried about Boston. I'm not worried about them.
All right.
Hey, who are you most worried about? You most worried about them?
It's more like a style thing to me, right? Like Boston plays a very similar game. They don't play very big. They run all over the place, right? And Kimball Walker is a beast, right? He's proven.
He's proven, but he's also it's kind of the same thing with Kendrick. He's tiny, so like I feel like that he can expose that.
Okay,
in the playoffs.
but guess what?
He's a peanut.
He's played 6 or 7 years, maybe a couple more. Ain't nobody stopped him yet.
He hasn't done anything in the playoffs.
Okay, but that's probably because of where he was playing.
Because okay, so now we're gonna crank up the excuse machine for him.
Oh my god. So do you have an excuse machine?
Well, I haven't made any yet. So what's the difference? I'm just saying what's what. Like if you're saying I'm taking on some team on the second night of a back-to-back, that's not excuse machine. Those are facts. Those are facts, Jack.
Okay, Sai. Hey, let me explain something to you. You are insufferable today.
Why? That's not
Why?
true. I'm not
Why?
insufferable today.
You're the only guy that can argue both sides, sit in the middle, and smile.
I don't get caught up in emotions when it comes to arguing. I look at the facts and I break down.
Wait. Says the guy who just went off because ESPN used the wrong hat.
It's just very disrespectful and it's very lazy on their part. It's very lazy.
Wait a minute.
And I just want them to get it right.
Wait a minute. You just went on a 15, 20-minute rant over a baseball cap, and you're going to tell me, oh my goodness.
We're back after this.